Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Why, hello there.
Hope everybody is doing well. We were yesterday talking on Evolutionary about the most dangerous time in modern history is perhaps the time we are just putting our toes into at this moment. So you got to be prepared. And then we've been delving deep into all sorts of things, a little bit more hidden history and earth change related over on EEARTS. And we will update you as we progress with some changes going on.
Indeed, we will. So it's going to be a little bit of a progression, kind of slow, but fast enough, and just kind of bringing up some new things that are old.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything old is new again. Yes. Everything new is old again.
Yes.
And so we're going to have that focus a little bit more on EEARTS. And as you can see, we have a Tartaria, Atlantis, Mu, Lemuria playlist over there with lots of fun stuff to delve deep into. And we also have an Anunnaki and Ijiji playlist. I'm going to be adding a giant playlist as well, all the hidden stuff about the giants, etc., etc. Then there's Vedic astrology, healing through energy work, mantras, which are perhaps the most powerful thing you can do is Sanskrit mantras to change frequency and vibration. And then natural health and wellness, and we have a couple other categories like binge-worthy. So what we want to do is really let you guys know exactly how everything really fits together pretty neatly. It's a nice, neat, tidy little bundle we have going on here. And you see life expectancy in the U.S. sees its biggest decline in more than a century. More than a century. Reversing decline requires immediate action and systemic change. Yeah, but it's not going to be the change that we really need from the mainstream. No. We have to recognize what's going on here. Reduction in life expectancy for AIANS has been particularly severe during the pandemic. Low average life expectancy in these populations is now lower than that of every country in the Americas except Haiti, which is astounding. Yeah, I mean, look at, again, everybody is suffering in these times. It's not always equal. And there's a reason, too, why you see people that are what we would call indigenous Native Americans have suffered the worst. And there's a reason why there's companies out there like 23andMe and Ancestry and stuff. It's because, again, this is a cycle that goes on when we're in the big cycle of the Dark Age, this repetitive cycle of wiping out those that know the real history. That's what's really going on. The revisionist history. Men are producing less number of sperm now than decades ago. Sperm count is declining at an accelerating pace, and this trend is observed all over the world. All over the world. There's many causes, many causes. But we're just going to zero in on one little thing that's not a little thing at all. Horrifying new report and drastic spike in miscarriages since you know what? Consumption of ultra-processed foods is associated with cognitive decline. Yeah, absolutely. Again, if you want to do your best for yourself and your family, try to just get as close to the natural as possible. That's hard. It's very hard in this world. Cancer rates worldwide set to skyrocket 75% by 2030, so says a news study. 2030, that's an interesting date, is it not? I think that's really kind of our finish line that we have to look at and maintain our focus on, because I do think that at that point in time, you're going to see that the system has been just exposed to the level where they cannot keep it together anymore. And we see Moderna may be on the brink of a revolutionary treatment in the field of cancer. Yeah, mRNA technology is such a big thing nowadays. But we do have this rapid cancer progression going on all around us. Why is there so much cancer? Cancer wasn't a big issue in the past. I mean, in the way past. Just go back 100 years. why are we faced with all the cancers that we do? Well, obviously, this is a problem of the system, and this is part of the problem, just a part, and not a major player in some areas, but it's a major player in other areas.
And so many little things definitely add up, when we're looking at all these, the ultra processed foods, when that goes into your gut, that actually starts to kill all the good bacteria, the good bugs, and it brings in these parasites that can ultimately take over the body. And I know like a lot of people don't like to talk parasites, but it's very true. If you're eating the ultra processed food, it's feeding those little creatures, and they're growing and growing and growing. So you see all these little things add up to one gargantuous thing.
Absolutely. And so, again, I personally don't believe in the system, and I certainly do not believe in the system that, the vast majority of people do believe in out there when it comes to taking care of your health. And I've shared that with you guys. We've made videos before showing how we eat. We've made videos showing what we stock up on. As natural as possible is the way we go. We really don't need, in our humble opinion, again, we are not indoctrinated, and we're not PhDs. No. And I wouldn't want a PhD in certain fields because, again, is it education, so to speak, or is it indoctrination? When we look to people in the medical field, they got quotas they have to fill, just like salespeople have quotas. They have quotas. And, they are rushed from above to make these quotas. Again, how many MDs do you get that will give you 90 minutes to talk to you and find out your background? Very, very few. Very few. I mean, if you find one, then, that's a great sign. So what are we looking at? We're looking at oil fracking. And, we made a video that was a combination of fracking with some other exposing some of the hidden things that are part of wiping away our true history. And this was like an hour-long video, and it got just stuffed and contaminated to where we couldn't salvage any of it. And I was wondering if it was the hidden history part or this part. And the more I think about it, the more I think this part is just as bad. This is something they don't want getting out. They don't want people putting these dots together and figuring out what's really going on the planet. So, fracking is all about injecting chemicals at high pressure, deep, well, not always so deep, but deep enough down into the earth to extract, as you see here, the shale. The gas flows out as you put the chemicals in the water and sand injected down in. And so, one thing it does do is it absolutely causes earthquakes. That's just a given. So when they give you like a picture of what they're doing here, they show it maybe in this way, where you see, what's this down here? Well, that's your aquifer, that's your water table. But the reality is, it's not so simple. It's more like this in many cases, absolutely more like this, where you have a drilling rig going down, taking these fracking chemicals, which are highly toxic, and injecting it right on through drinking water, private well drinking water. Private wells are not, this is what really turned the light bulb on for me when I was researching an area in Arizona. And I was looking at the average depth of private wells, and then I was looking at the depth that these corporations would drill down to get their water supply for themselves. And then I was looking at the fracking aspect, which drills down farther. So that means they're going through your drinking water to get to these zones. They're injecting poisonous chemicals into potentially your drinking water, which then you uptake. And, God forbid anybody drinks tap water nowadays. That's insanity. Drinking tap water is insanity.
Mm-hmm. I mean, isn't it so sad that we're at that point, you know? And with the mafia, I mean, with the government that we have in control these days, none of this is going to get brought to anyone's attention. Why? Because there's too much money in it. And where there is money right now, there's power. And that's what they're all needing, wanting, desiring, is they're desiring control. They're desiring power. And when this information gets, if it's brought to light, people are not going to be in favor of it and might actually stand up and push back. So even though so many of us are going to know about it, we're going to find out about it, but where do we have any avenue to push back? We don't. There might be someone stands up and says, well, I'm just going to file a paper in the court system and make a complaint. You really think that's going to do something in 10 years from now? We really need to fight this energy on a higher level. You know, we have to push back in an energetic level because we can. All of the tiptoeing that people have to do through paperwork and processes and procedures, that's just, you know, creating red tape after red tape after red tape to get nothing done.
So, you got to wonder, how many people just look away? How many people just, know that what's happening here is wrong, that it's contributing to a decrease in life expectancy, contributing to an increase in cancers, all sorts of reproductive issues, and just, look away. I think there's a lot of people that are waking up to the point where they can't look away anymore and can't take part in these things. As you look at this, it gives you some different, perspective. As you see, the Grand Canyon's depth is 2,600 feet. The average Texas oil well, 3,500 feet. And you can see hydraulic fracturing between 5,000 and 20,000 feet. Average depth of the ocean, 12,000 over here. Again, what's being done, you could view it, and I think the tendency would be to view this as just corporate greed at the expense of the health and well-being of people everywhere. And I think, for many people that are taking part in this particular endeavor, it is, it's the way they make their living. And we understand there are good people trapped in what, or at least they feel that they're trapped in certain endeavors that are, contributing to all the health issues that we have on the planet. But again, there's always ways to find other ways to do things. And, I got to the point personally where I could not stand being in the corporate world anymore. It was literally making my stomach so sick that, I just couldn't do it anymore. It was going to affect my health too much. And so, took the jump, and it was scary. I was so used to always having a guaranteed paycheck, guaranteed health care. Personally, I have not had any quote unquote health coverage for over a decade. No health coverage for, I think about 13 years now or something like that. And it's fine, because I've had no use of a doctor. And, when I would have any issues, I address it naturally. And this is me. Everybody has to make your own decisions. I'm not saying don't go to doctors. I'm just saying, me personally, I would go to a naturopath before an MD, because they tend to look at things a little bit more holistically.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's different ways of doing things, and I've shared with you guys a little bit about my journey, but in the beginning, I didn't know that there were so many different alternatives. But sometimes we have to be a little bit uncomfortable to really look and search out those alternatives. They're there. We just really, really have to be determined and committed to making ourselves healthy. And in that journey, everything in your life tends to go on some sort of a healing path. So it's definitely something worth checking out, alternative methods. You learn as best as you can, educate yourself as much as you can. Right now we have the internet, so we're so lucky. You simply need to plug in the information and you get some back. And I can't say that it's all accurate, because yes, that's tainted too. But there are a lot of methods out there that can treat things naturally. starting with your diet and anything you take in that could cause inflammation, that might be the source of the entire problem. So all you need to do is make that one change, and a lot of things can get better.
So, right here, and this is from a government site, EPA found scientific evidence that hydraulic fracking activities can affect drinking water resources under some circumstances. Yes, exactly. Indirect evidence shows water contamination related to fracking influences health. But we need direct evidence. Well, again, when are they going to do the studies? Because, studies are funded by money that's given by lobbies in many cases. And again, it's all about big business. And if this is going to interfere with profits, it ain't going to happen. It's just that simple, or it'll get buried or swept under the table. So yeah, there are those people that are all interested in their profits. And, that's their only concern. Or, again, they sell it to the public as cheaper gas. Who doesn't want cheaper gas? Well, we don't need it in the first place. And that they're starting to unravel, and they're going to start to show us technologies that they're going to say are new discoveries. They're not new discoveries. They've been around forever. They just hide it from the public. Why do they hide it from the public? Well, because they don't want us living a certain amount of time. Because if we're around, say if the average lifespan was 200 years, a lot more people would figure out what's really going on, and they wouldn't be able to maintain the facade. And this is part of what we see going on. Again, when you look at this picture here, you got all this beautiful farmland, the animals out there, and this is going straight through the water supply. Straight through the water supply. What's interesting too is they found that the air quality around these sites, they give off toxic chemicals into the air. So besides the water being poisoned, your air is being poisoned. Now, one of the reasons why this comes up is because, Cindy and I, we basically, we at certain times we feel like we need to go because, again, we feel, again, that we are targeted individuals. So when it comes time, then we go and we just leave an area. So as I look deeper and deeper into this whole thing, the more I realized, that they have so made dangerous every good, safe area that you would maybe find for writing out these earth changes to come, or even the geopolitical scene, because again, they are planning on that big WW #3. And so there's so many areas that would be just great little spots to write out things, but what do you find? Do you find hundreds of fracking wells all over the place? And again, it's like they're going to say it's all about making things affordable for us. Yeah, at the expense of poisoning ourselves, because this is poisoning us. There's no doubt. It can't be made safe. As you look at this, of the 410,000 pounds of chemical compounds used on an average per well, that's one well. 33% cause cancer, 41% cause endocrine disruption, 58% immune suppression, 43% genetic mutation, 34% reproductive problems. So, we're being hit from every single angle here. Every single angle. And they just sell it, of course hey, you guys want cheaper gas? Yeah. Do you want cancer too?
I know, and they, and they serve it to you with a smile, and they take your money, and they use your money to pay for more, and they don't mind one bit. But wouldn't it be nice if more and more people knew and understood what was happening? So if you see these rigs coming in your area near your farm, maybe there's something you can do. You can step right up and try to block that right away. At least I know I would try. I would throw everything at it I possibly could, including my 3D body. I wouldn't allow that to come near my home, because it's going to mess with the animals. It's going to mess with the air. I mean, really, what are your options? If you do see this equipment coming toward your home, wow, we got to push back. And I think it would help if more people simply knew why we need to push back.
Dangerously high levels of airborne carcinogens found at U.S. fracking sites. We should be very concerned. Yes, this is October 2014. What have we done? We've expanded. Hello. How stupid is this system? Well, no, it's not stupid. It understands what it's doing. It understands what it's doing. Radium, polonium, lead, uranium, this is understood. They, at the highest levels, they get it. And, this is what we have to realize, too, is that, there are some that are just concerned with their profits. There are others that understand the bigger picture. As you look at a map of the aquifers in the U.S. and you look at the fracking sites, our water is totally unsafe, and it's all over the place. Ohio legislatures, now this is December 13th this year, passed bill opening all state land to fracking, labeling natural gas green energy. Green carcinogens, is this where the reasoning is? Yeah, this is, again, anytime you see these little white patches looks like little white patches of sand, look a little closer. This is all fracking. This is all fracking. There's one there. There's two. There's three. Look at how many there is. This is a little town called Troop. And you can see this entire town is surrounded by it. Surrounded by it as we're going out. And you see that's Tyler. And there's Dallas. It's just everywhere. Texas, land of the free, but also fracked to hell. So, again, we have to pick our poisons, literally. Do we want to be in, there are some states that have banned fracking. I think it's still banned in Vermont, New York, and Maryland at the moment. But unfortunately, there's an awful lot, you don't even really notice it at first, and then you start going in. Look at it all. It's everywhere. It's out in the country. So those that are escaping the big cities, I mean, look at this huge area in here. Those that are escaping the big cities, we go over into neighboring Louisiana too, and we do see it. Maybe not quite as intense as we see in Texas, but again, these are again plays, or however they call it. Here is into lower Arkansas, and again, you'll find sporadic sites where they are doing these fracking. And in some areas heavier than others, and you as you can see here, these are a lot of, again, fracking sites. And I had seen this before when we were looking over in New Mexico, because again, one of the safe zones is the Four Corners area. As you see the Grand Canyon here, we're going to have a video going into the Grand Canyon either later on today or tomorrow over on EEARTS. But as you start to roll into these areas, and you look closer, especially like in the border areas and stuff, we'll find a lot of these sites in there as well. They come in patches. And like over towards the Farmington area. Where am I there? I got lost, guys. I got lost. Okay, there's Amarillo. There's Shiprock. Newcomb. Gallup. When you look at the cases of cancer over here in this area, especially, again, towards the Hopi land, it's horrible. And then again, besides the fracking that we see, we also, of course, in New Mexico and Nevada, we've also had, unfortunately, a lot of nuclear explosions and tests. So again, this is just a ticking time bomb that is something that so many people are not aware of. So, they're going to end up offering us solutions to our declining life expectancy. As you see, the few is now advocating the merger of human and AI systems to censor hate speech and misinformation. Because again, if you talk in a hateful way about, I don't want, to be merged with the AI. Oh, well, that's hate speech. You should be thankful you're going to be merged with the AI. Yeah. Then we see Li Ching Yuan, and this is somebody that we've been able to make contact with on the other side. So, longest lived man, did he really live for 256 years? And so he was a Qigong master, he was an herbal medicine expert, martial artist as well. They literally sent him out, the Chinese government sent him out notices congratulating him at certain birthdays, key birthdays, like, hey, you made it to 125, congratulations. You made it to 150, congratulations. You made it to 200, congratulations. We see by the records, that you are this old. And what we actually got from him, that he was older. You can live a long time. Now, what did he eat? Very little. Very, very, very little. Roots, some herbs. He said the most important thing was clean water. Clean, clear water.
And not even just clean water, but the purity of the water, how it's been processed through the earth, having access to that. You want to talk about the fountain of youth. That is something that is so close to renewal and has the ability to renew our cells. And he knew that. So he had this perfect alchemy of information to put inside of his body to constantly renew. And his energy body is extremely strong. But he knew these things, and boy, they've sure been covered up now. And not only are they covered up, they're making sure no one else has that ability to collect this type of pure water to sustain their life for a long time.
Absolutely. Every one of these dots that you're looking at is a fracking well. Right by the Alien Trail parking lot. Right by the Alien Trail parking lot, they've fracked the crap out of this. That's all fracking, all that those little dots. Isn't that disgusting? So again, what they want to do is make the life expectancy so low that we'll go along with anything they want. And that's part of their bigger plan. And lifespan and height of humans in the different yugas. Again, they got us terrified of giants. Well, there were some giants that were maybe a little bit on the negative side. You got to recognize that. But then they could be also negative because they've been hunted to extinction. And yet we see that, according to the Sanskrit tradition, humans are much bigger in the time of a golden age and also lived thousands of years. And we see the same thing from the Greek myths. Again, in the golden age, men lived as long as the gods, and we lived among the gods because, again, the gods weren't gods. They were just more advanced beings.
I know, that's the thing. They use the word God as if it's this strange almighty being that knows all, sees all, because they're magical. No, it's just they're in a certain era where they have this information, and we're moving into that era too. We are no different. We are collecting this information, and we're learning ways how to enhance our energy bodies. And when our energy bodies are going full throttle, they're enhanced. There's things we can do that are just absolutely amazing.
So the golden age was before the time of Zeus. And the Greek gods that we talk about, we associate with the Anunnaki and them and the draconian system. So the golden age is before, again, the takeover of planet Earth by the draconian AI, Anunnaki, and the Gigian secret societies. His father, Kronos, and Kronos, literally time, Father Time, reigned over the golden age. When men lived amongst the gods, there were no rules because everybody just did the right thing. It was always spring, because the axis wasn't tilted at 23.5 degrees, and the moon was not there. Yes, the moon was not there. Again, there are those that know of a time in the indigenous traditions, and this is why life expectancy is the lowest amongst those of the native indigenous traditions that remember these things, like a time before the moon was put into place. They remember things like certain humans come from certain star systems. They can't have this knowledge out there. This is why they not only conquer all the indigenous people of the earth, but they end up converting them to their religious systems, the controllers' religious systems, which, again, are out of the Abrahamic tradition. Somebody said, oh, you didn't mention Judaism in there. You mentioned Christianity and Islam, because Christianity is like 33% of the world and Islam's 31%, and Judaism is like 0.0005%. You know, there's not a lot of conversion to Judaism, even though in some ways it's the root of Christianity and Islam. In other ways, it really isn't. In other ways, again, these are all ones that have been put in place by the controllers in order to keep us constantly fighting amongst ourselves, where all we really have to do is seek a life of peace and harmony, recognize that we're all part of something much bigger, and stop competing and start working together constructively. And so it's fascinating to see, too, here. They lived to a very old age, and they would, when they did pass on from the physical existence, they died peacefully, as if falling asleep. This is what yogis can do now. This is what Buddhist monks have been monitored as doing when they go in, when they're ready to pass on. They just basically go into a meditative state and they leave the body. And that is something that can be done through the training. But again, they want to appeal to us and our TikTok mentality and say, well, all you got to do is just, splash some water on you, say some words, and you're good. You don't got to do anything else. No, you need to work at it. You need to work at it. Again, you're not going to get anything for nothing. And you get what you put into something. So again, they're just appealing to our inherent laziness and our lack of time, because they keep us running on the rat wheel all the time, just trying to pay the bills. Zeus overthrew his father Kronos in the Silver Age, ruled over man again, and he created the silver race of man to be inferior in appearance and wisdom to the last. There you go. Hello. What are they doing now? They're getting rid of Homo sapiens to bring in something that's going to be more robotic. Something that's not going to be an upgrade, it's going to be a downgrade. And this is what they've already done with Denisovans and Neanderthals and other humanoid beings that were on this planet that had more of a tie-in to Mother Nature, had more spiritual understanding than we do now. We are a downgrade. These vehicles, these bodies are a downgrade. Again, the soul is eternal, so they didn't create any souls. No, and these are beings that are stuck in the lower astral realms. These beings literally exist in the area that we think and view as hell. Do you want to live in hell with these beings for all time? Then go ahead and merge with AI. But no, I don't think any reasonable person would. So, man, okay, he divided the year into 4 seasons. This is because the moon was brought in. This was because, again, the 23.5 degree axial tilt, because of the cataclysm that came. And so man ends up having to grow his food, seek shelter, because before it was paradise. It was literally a Garden of Eden. And then also men lived less. We still live far longer in the Silver Age than we do now as far as our life expectancy. But then you see Zeus destroy the race for refusing to worship the gods. Nonetheless, after death, the silver race became the blessed spirits of the underworld. Now you see, when in the Golden Age, when spirits pass on, or when people pass on, they live on as guardians of the mortals. In other words, spirit guides. The term that used spirit guides, this is giving us the same information. But of course, they want you to view everything as New Age and evil, because it's a way to escape their belief system, and yet they've perverted, twisted every single truth. So they get into the New Age and they distort us over towards thinking things along the Tony Robbins line. Okay, you can manifest your reality, so why don't you manifest riches? Why don't you manifest great wealth or amazing beauty? Again, they always go to the ego. And they try to use our lower tendencies to hook us in. This is the way they work. This is why they can't have us living that long. And then the Bronze Age, Zeus created the first recognizable human. So, yeah, it's interesting. There you go. And then you have the Heroic Age, which is the age of giants and mighty men. Again, where you get one line in the Bible, and you could see that if you look at the comparative mythos from around the world, it gives you a much clearer understanding. And even the Book of Enoch is still a distortion. It's still a distortion in that it's still giving you that Abrahamic tendency and point of view. So you see, during the Hindu Golden Age, people are said to be over 30 feet tall. They're virtuous, totally, and wise. Their lifespans are hundreds of thousands of years. And then with each succeeding age, the people get smaller, lifespans decline. And again, the bodies are just vehicles. So who were the giants? Well, many of you were the giants.
Mm-hmm. I know, I mean, isn't it wonderful to know that if you can just get in touch with yourself at a very deep level, you can start reading your own DNA and you can start to understand exactly who you are, where you're from, what abilities you have. All of these beings are so very unique. They're very different. They all have different abilities. They all have different chakra systems, and they can all do things that are just so unique to them. And they keep us in such a state here in the 3D where we don't have time to go within and tap that DNA to see, well, what else is it about me? What's so unusual about me? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? They do a really good job in kind of keeping us from discovering that. And I think that's really sad because people have such amazing gifts and they have so much to offer, but they're too busy in the system that they've been trapped in to actually expand themselves and use those gifts. But now is a really good time for us to acknowledge that and recognize the more you can become organic and the more you can heal, the cleaner you keep your vessel and your temple, the more you can reach inside and utilize those gifts that have been given from the ancestors.
So as always, guys, thank you for your support over on Ko-Fi and also on Patreon. We couldn't do it without you guys, like Mike and Phil and Tawny, and gosh, so many new ones that have been helping. So we want to thank you guys so much for your support. Do check out EvolutionaryEnergyArts.com as well to learn more about us. As always, God bless and namaste.
Namaste.